Okay, I'm going to get started. I know that we still have some people filing in, and there are others that are talking to our college reps. They will be here after the presentation as well. So if you didn't get all of your personal questions answered through the presentation, they'll be hanging out for a little bit afterwards so you can talk with them then. Okay, usually they're up here with me. I thought that maybe we would just have them stand back tonight. The first part of the presentation is a PowerPoint, and I'll be introducing them when they're back there and then back up here. I am Kim McDaniel. I am one of 5 counselors at Clarkston High School. My alphabet letters are Mills through SCHE, and everybody in between. My lovely assistant, Miss Shannon Carolyn, is back there. You saw her on your way in. She is the counselor for alphabet letters A through DEL. So you kind of have the end of the alphabet and the beginning of the alphabet covered today. Oh, I forgot I have to click here. Okay, so welcome to College 101. I hope that this will be good, useful information for you. The packet is just kind of an extra. I won't be going over any of the information in there. It's more or less like a workbook for you guys to look at once you get home. But on the back page, there is a feedback form. I'd like to hear some feedback on what you thought about this evening, if there's anything else that you think that we should be covering in the future, okay? So if you get a chance to fill those out and drop them in the box on your way out, I'd really appreciate it. Okay, so our college admissions panel, rather than having a panel with all different colleges talking about what they do, I chose to have a large public university. Michigan State is here with Representative Mr. Ben Brown. I don't know where he's at. Oh, there he is over here. Okay, they'll be moving up. Our mid-size public university, Oakland University, Patrick Cassaday is here representing Oakland. And then I have Kristin Diekevers and Danae from Hope, which represents our private smaller college. They are not here today to recruit. I like them to present the different feels and ideals that they're looking for in students as far as applicants, and for you guys to get information based on what is going to be the best fit for my student. So if you walk away from this presentation tonight with nothing else other than this simple statement, college is a match to be made, not a prize to be won, I think I've done my job. Way back when I went to college, I went to Central for my bachelor's and my master's. If I was to interview next to Michigan State on one side and U of M on the other, I would have lost 10 points because back then, Big Ten, prestigious schools, you earn more points. Nowadays, things are different. There's so many different programs, everything is competitive, there's different internship opportunities, study abroad, there's so many things to look into that you really have to find the right fit for your student, what their program is, and what their future holds. I think more often now in interviews, the questions are more about who you are, what your skill set is, what internship opportunities you had, what kind of work experience in those internships you can bring to the table, and of course your personality. So I think it's really important that we help our children pick colleges that best suit and nurture that development in them. Okay. So preparing for college. When searching for a college, you should take notes on admission requirements, ACT and SAT. Do they prefer one over the other? I think you're going to hear tonight that either or is fine. The size and location. Do I want to be in a big city? Do I want to be at Northern in the middle of the woods? Do I like certain activities? Am I involved in a certain sport, music program, dance? The quality of the programs, the majors, and the faculty. A big question nowadays is, what size are your class sizes? Are they held in auditoriums like this? Are they small classrooms? Are they taught by a professor, or are they taught by a graduate assistant, a teacher assistant? Are you looking for public or private? You want to pay attention to application deadlines. There's a lot of jargon that goes along with applying to college. A couple: early decision, early action, regular decision, and rolling. Early decision means that a student is applying early, and if they are accepted, it's binding. You're going there. There's no getting out of it. Early action means I'm going to apply early by a certain date so that I can get my response back from the college early so that I can make my choice and commit by May 1st. Regular decision means that colleges have certain deadlines that they set for application, and you apply by then, and you find out several weeks after. And then rolling means that they are always taking applications and making decisions. So we're going to learn more about that later in our presentation. What kind of student activities are available and housing options available. Some students want to live on campus freshman year, some would prefer not. So these are all things to look for. And there is, in that packet that I gave you, there's things to think about. You can write little notes, so it's kind of like a work page. So I have a video link here. If my helpers in the booth could click on.
I found the college application process very stressful because to me it was such a huge step to be taking, and this place that you're going to be devoting 4 years of hard work to, and I really wanted to find a good fit for me. To overcome the stress of the college application process, getting together and working with friends certainly helped a lot. And trying to stay really organized and on top of all of my deadlines, asking teachers well in advance for recommendation letters, and getting all my materials together. I had a big file folder where I kept my transcripts, my SAT and ACT test scores, everything in one place. I think that I learned through the application process for college to really stay determined, and that even when the going gets really tough and it feels impossible to get all of the work done, that if you just break it up into small pieces and you do one thing at a time, you can do it and you can make it work. And I also learned simply to let myself relax a little bit and not be so stressed about it. My mother kept reminding me that it's not the rest of your life.
I like that video clip because students do start to feel the pressure and the stress. By show of hands, how many 10th grade people do we have here this evening? Okay, and then 11th, everybody else is 11th? Okay. 11th was actually the population that we originally did this presentation for, but I think two years, maybe last year, I decided to offer it to 10th graders because we are seeing that students are very concerned about the classes they're picking, their grades, their GPA, seeing a lot of stress earlier on. And so it's good that you're here and thinking about this because it really is about what you can do successfully with a good balance, the least amount of stress, and you also want to find a college that will match your way of doing things. Okay? So the next thing we're going to be talking about is important factors of college admission decision. So this is the admission side. What are they looking for? You know, we say take the highest end classes, get all A's, be involved in everything, do 1 billion hours of volunteer work. It's all very overwhelming. So these are ranked in order. What they are looking at, they look comprehensively at a student. Where they might be weak in one area and stronger in the other, it balances it out. So of course, grades, GPA, test scores, rigor in the classes that they are taking, their class rank, work, extracurricular activities, if they've done any community service, and then the application process, the student essay. Most college applications have an opportunity for students to write an essay. Sometimes they give them a prompt, other times it's just open-ended, tell us more about you. I and the admissions reps will confirm this. A student essay can make a decision, depending on the student, what they've learned about themselves, where they've been. It can be really helpful. Any awards, achievements, counselor recommendation, and teacher recommendation. So students, getting to know your counselor, getting to know your teachers, there is going to be a time where you have to ask somebody to do a letter of recommendation. And if you've never talked to them, got to know them, they haven't got to know you, it's very difficult to do. Okay, so I'd like to play a video clip on admissions rep feedback about her process.
When colleges are trying to put together their enrolled class each year, the students from all of their applications who they will admit and enroll, if students would think of it as trying to have a successful party, and if you're having a party, you don't want to invite all of the same kinds of people. You don't want to have just loud, obnoxious people at your party. You want to have some of those people. You want to have some quiet people. You want to have people who want to play games and people who want to have conversations. Same thing happens when a college admissions dean is trying to bring together a new class. They want all kinds of different students. So they do want those brilliant 4.0 valedictorians who are really going to excel academically. And they also want students who are going to be good academic students, but are also fun and going to be involved in a lot of activities. And students who are musicians and students who are athletes and everything in between. So if students would think to themselves, all these things that I've done, somebody out there is going to be interested in me as a person and want me as part of their community. It may be there's some college who aren't going to want the student, and that's fine too, but there are plenty of colleges who will. Students obsess about where they're not going to get in instead of really being excited about the places that take them.
Okay, next is just a little blip on the senior year timeline. It's a very crazy time. It goes super fast. We actually start preparing seniors for senior year as soon as our current seniors leave. So like this year, May 22nd, our seniors are done and out of here. The next week we meet with our future seniors, our junior class, and we start talking about what they need to do in the summer. Visit colleges, take a look at applications online, start writing essays, ask people for letters of recommendation. So there's a lot going on, summer of junior year, and then this is how the school year kicks out. We complete senior questionnaire and return to the counseling office in August. Students are supposed to return a questionnaire that tells counselors all about them. We ask them questions so we can write a good letter of recommendation. We don't know every single detail about what our students are doing outside of school. We only have their transcript and the set of classes. Many students don't turn that in, so it delays the letter writing process and makes it difficult because we're trying to chase their questionnaire around. Then in August, September, if anybody needs to retake the SAT or ACT, that needs to be done. Register with Parchment to release transcripts. Nowadays, for those of you who haven't had a student apply to college recently, everything is done by a third party, everything's done online. You create an account, it feels like, for everything. With ACT for test scores, with College Board for test scores. Parchment is a third party where students create a profile and an account so that then they can click request transcripts sent to whatever college or university that they want. So everything is done, like right now, click of the button once we get those accounts set up. We ask that students review their college plans with their counselor in September. Attend Paying for College Night also in September. We have a speaker that comes and talks about filling out the FAFSA, which I'll talk a little bit more about in a little bit. We ask that students try to submit their applications in September or October. We encourage all of our students to apply early action. So by November 1st, whether a college is an early action school or a rolling admission school, we like for our students to just have everything done by that time, because then the scholarship opportunities start coming out, and then the kids need to focus on that. If you do the early action, you'll also know by Christmas, by most schools, what your options are. So you have a few months to kind of take a look at what kinds of money am I going to get from the FAFSA? Am I going to get a merit scholarship? You can take a look at everything and then make a decision, not be rushed by because you're applying in February and you need to make the decision by May. Submit applications by September through October. Sign up to meet college reps who visit your school. College reps every fall will tour around. I call it their road show. And students hear announcements. They sign up, and the reps that we have here today come and they have a small group meeting with any students that are interested. They go over what the campus is like, what kind of programs, any type of scholarships that are offered. Some students sign up. A lot of them forget and don't show up, but we would really like to get attendance because there's nothing like a face-to-face meeting, asking questions and getting to know your rep, even if you've already applied. Getting to know somebody, admission reps like to see who's coming onto campus. Complete and submit your FAFSA in October. That used to be something that was a January item. They've moved that up too so that it can kind of help the whole decision-making process. And then by May 1st, you have to commit. So that's all the responsibilities kind of in a nutshell. Okay, so a little bit about paying for college to combat the costs. Obviously, scholarships are money that students get, you don't have to pay back. There's all different kinds of scholarships. The rule of thumb is don't pay money to get money. Some websites, some agencies will say, give us $100 and we'll use your profile and match you with every single scholarship that's available to you. You should never have to do that. You can go use all the search engines that we have listed on the counseling website and find your own. The most important thing to remember is if you are applying on a website and it's a national scholarship, we're competing with the entire nation. Anything that we can do to narrow that application pool, our competition, is what we want to do. So you want to look at maybe some local scholarships, regional scholarships like Northern Oakland County or Lower Michigan, things like that. So anything that you can do to make that competition a little bit less. On our CHS Counseling Office website, we have anything and everything that you want to know about school, grades, transcripts, college, scholarships. It's really great. If you haven't visited, please do. When you go to your scholarship and financial aid tab, it right now will list any local scholarships which are just to Clarkston High School students. So if a student qualifies, they can apply. The only competition they have is whoever else from Clarkston High School has applied. They range anywhere from $100 up to $2,500. So any money that somebody can get is good because you don't have to pay it back at the end. We've had a couple years where there's been scholarships that haven't been claimed because students don't want to go through the process of writing an essay and turning it in, but it's still, it's free money. So if you go onto the website, if you were to go home right now, I think we probably have about 15 scholarships right now. And some are open to students 5th grade and up. So it's not too soon for those 10th graders to kind of take a look to see what's out there. Scholarship.com, fastweb.com, as I said, we list some search engines on our counseling website that you can use. Parents' place of employment. Parents, there may be scholarships offered through your employer that they don't advertise because not everybody has a upcoming senior in their household. So you can always ask if there is a certain division or a branch scholarship. And then merit scholarships. A lot of colleges will offer merit scholarships. It's based on a student's GPA and their test scores. If you have a certain GPA, you get the money. If you have a higher GPA, you get more money. It comes automatically from the college or the university. The FAFSA, it stands for Free Application for Federal Student Aid. Parents fill it out in October. It's based on your last year's tax income. And the school or the state, the federal government determines a certain amount of aid that a student can get and the loans that parents and students can take advantage of. Each college will receive a copy of a student's FAFSA report, and based on that, they put together their own financial package for the student. So say if you look on a website and it's $25,000 for a student to attend, then you have to take away, okay, what's my loan, what are my contributions, and then wait to hear back from the college to see what they can do for you. So that's why it's so important to fill out that FAFSA so that a package can be put together. The other thing too is October 1st is the deadline, or is the start of all of this. The closer you get to that October 1st date to apply, the Pell Grants and things from the federal government and the state, as soon as they're gone, they're gone. So if you apply on October 2nd, within the first couple weeks, your chances are greater for your student to be able to take advantage if they qualify for those loans and grants. Okay, and then there's a college savings calculator. Everything that is in that packet is from College Board, Big Future. They have a college savings calculator. You can input different information and it will calculate things for you. So if you're overwhelmed with the cost of everything, take a look at that and that will help out. Okay, so now if my helpers will do the paying for college clip.
How to pay for college. Visualized. You've made the choice to go to school, but by now you've probably discovered it's more expensive than buying a soda. And education is still worth it, but here are 5 tips to help you pay for school. Tip number 1, be self-reliant. Paying for college starts before you actually become a student. One of the best ways to pay for school is through your own work. Get a job and save up early. Having a reservoir of funds available during school can really help smooth out the bumps in your journey. Tip number 2, prepare academically. Being a strong student can help you in 2 ways. 1, you'll be better prepared to handle college-level classes. And 2, you will be eligible to receive more scholarships, since most awards are given based on academic performance. Tip number 3, apply for scholarships. Scholarships come in all shapes and sizes. Research as many options as you can. Your high school counseling office, the internet, your parents' work, your community or state, or the college you plan to attend. All these are good options to investigate. Tip number 4, apply for federal aid. The government has a variety of ways you can receive financial aid. To apply, you'll need to fill out a free application for Federal Student Aid, or FAFSA. By completing a FAFSA, you are automatically considered for a variety of aid options, including the federal Pell Grant, which does not need to be paid back. Tip number 5, avoid debt. Loans should be an absolute last resort in receiving financial aid. Often, being resourceful and working hard can eliminate your need to take out a loan. That being said, student loans can be a useful option if you find you really need them. Receiving an education can possibly be the most valuable thing you will ever do, but that doesn't mean that it has to cripple your finances. There you have it, 5 awesome tips to give you a head start.
So a couple warnings. Students work really hard to apply to college and get accepted, and once they're there, then they kind of ease up and maybe are less stressed, but colleges can change their minds depending on grades. If somebody does not do well the last semester, last 2 semesters of their senior year, we have received letters, emails, rescinding students' acceptance, and it's not a good day when that happens. So the most important thing is for students to stay strong till the end. If they are involved in certain things, clubs, activities, and that changes, remember that colleges look at the whole student. So if something changes, that might change the deal. If there's disciplinary action or something happens legally at the school, and or if you drop or change classes. A lot of the colleges ask what a senior schedule looks like. We put that in the application. So say, we have all core classes second semester, and then we decide, okay, I have senioritis and I'm not going to do this anymore. Counselors won't change schedules for this reason, because if then we take all elective classes, number 1, you're not going to be as prepared for college as you were, because you're not keeping your study habits and your study brain in, and 2, we know that it could cause a problem with your college acceptance. So you have to finish strong. Okay, so at this time, I would like to invite my volunteers who I volunteered to come up to stage, and the college reps, if you guys wouldn't mind taking your seats too. Okay, so again, since you can now see their faces, I will introduce to you Mr. Ben Brown is from Michigan State, Mrs. Kristin Diekevers from Hope, and Mr. Patrick Cassaday from OU. I asked them to wear their college gear today to hopefully help you guys identify who's answering questions later on. So these are my lovely volunteers who I volunteered. Some I had to bribe, and others were just, sure, I'll do it. So as you can see, everybody has a GPA, okay? So I'm going to give you a visual of what happens in the college admissions process, okay? So students, you're familiar with what's on the back of your card, correct? Okay, so if you have taken an exceptionally strong academic program, you can move forward 2 spaces towards the college reps. If you have taken an exceptionally strong academic program, you can move forward 2. Okay, if you play the oboe or the viola, you can move towards the reps 1. If you clearly stated that this college was your first choice by filling in an early decision application and commitment, go forward 2 spaces. If your intended major is psychology or pre-med, go back 1 space. If your intended major is Greek, move forward 2 spaces. If you do not know any of your teachers well and had trouble finding someone to write your letter of recommendation, move back 2 spaces. If you forgot to change the name of the college to which you were applying when you cut and pasted your college essay, go back 4 spaces. If you are a legacy, move forward 2 spaces. If you did not write the optional essay for your college application, move back 1 space. If the topic of your college essay was my trip to France or what I learned from playing sports, move back 1 space. If you wrote the essay of the year, the one that was passed around the admissions office because it was so remarkable, move forward 3 spaces. If you plagiarized an AP European history paper and got caught, sit down, you're out of the competition entirely. If you will be the first in your family to attend college, move forward 2 spaces. If you participated in an enriching summer program between your junior and senior year, move forward 2 spaces. If you have participated in no extracurricular activities, go back 3 spaces. If you have participated in a significant community service project, move forward 1 space. If you are an Eagle Scout, move forward 2 spaces. If you are a varsity athlete, move forward 2 spaces. If you are a varsity athlete and took 2nd place at regionals in your sport, move forward 1 space. If you got a D in an academic course at the end of your junior year, move back 3 spaces. If you came to the college information session and introduced yourself to the college representative, and in the case of the student who just got the D, explain the extenuating circumstance, you can move forward 1 space. If you are a legal resident of Idaho, move forward 3 spaces. If you never gave your counselor any personal information for use in writing your college recommendation, go back 1 space. If your last name is Kennedy, the name of the college library is Kennedy, and it's not a coincidence, move all the way to the front and stay there. So there you have it. It's a game of chess, really. Thank you. And for the stars of my show, you can have a starburst. Thanks, guys. If you would just give your sheets to Mr. Brown. Thank you. My hands are full here. Thanks, guys. Okay, so as you can see, there is much involved in the decision-making process, and every college seems to be a little bit different. So that's why we have these three lovely representatives to share what they know with us, so we know what to do and how to prepare. I'm trying to get back to their names. Okay, oh, there we go. Okay, so Kristin Diekevers has been with us forever, and she has now taken over a different region. So we have Danae Frost, who is our brand new representative. She came tonight to learn what this is all about. She's back there. So you really do get to know the college reps very well and have personal relationships with them. It makes it really nice when you have a question about a student or a student who is concerned about applying to be able to call or email and just say, hey, I have this student, tell me what to do. And they're really great about it. So what we've done in the past, rather than having a question and answer and then thinking, oh, I should have asked that question, the counselors have got together over the years and put together questions that are most often asked of us. And so I have made a list. I'm going to ask these questions of the reps, and they're going to share their information. You guys are more than welcome to ask your questions at the end if you have more, but I'm hoping by asking these questions, these guided questions, that it hits the topics that the students and you are really looking to cover. Okay? So the first one is for Ben, Mr. Ben Brown. The college search and application process is constantly changing, even for those students and parents who went through the process just a few years ago. Can you discuss the trends that you're seeing with college admissions?
Sure. We're checking? We're good? Okay. I think one of the biggest trends that I've noticed over the past couple years is the timeline and how it's advanced. As Kim had kind of alluded to already, the process really starts in the junior year. A lot of applications will become available in the summer of the student's senior year. A big driving factor of that is two organizations. One is Common App. So a lot of universities have gone on to the Common App. It's a common application. It's exactly as it sounds, a place that you can go. It's a common application that you will fill out and you can send to multiple universities. A competing company has also started up called Coalition App. And it's the same premise that there's multiple universities all gathered in one place. You fill out that application right in that one place, and then you can apply to multiple institutions. Oftentimes there are supplemental information that you're going to need to add after you send in that first one, but both of those organizations really want universities to be ready to receive applications about the middle of August. So students really need to start thinking about this application process in the middle of August and getting ready to apply in the middle of August, which is definitely a trend that I have seen become more aggressive. Michigan State's on Coalition App, but we started releasing our application middle of August just because the common application was being released at the same time. So it is an earlier process. I know when I first started working with students, I would go visit them in high school the fall of their senior year. They had some time to think about where they wanted to apply. As long as everything kind of was in by Thanksgiving, they were on a pretty good schedule. It's really much more aggressive than that right now. So I tell the students that I work with, don't pick out your Halloween costume until you filled out your applications for college. So that's October 15th in my mind. That's when we start picking out our Halloween costumes anyway. But really having everything in, particularly before November 1st, but September, October, that's the window that you want to complete your applications. Not figure out what schools you're applying to, but have your applications complete. So I think that's the biggest trend that I've seen. I don't know if you two would have anything else to add.
Nothing to add? Okay. In the senior timeline, you guys might have noticed I said November 1st is the deadline, as they mentioned, but we have September or October have them done because with everything being technical online, there are so many hiccups that things can't be uploaded or they can't be processed, and they have no way of knowing that there was a problem with technology or Wi-Fi went out. So we always just proceed with caution and make sure that we don't have an issue by doing everything early. Okay, the next one's for Kristin. Some juniors have stated that they feel as though they are behind in the process because they don't know what they want to major in or where they want to go to college. Would you discuss at what stage in the process a student in November of their junior year should be, as well as a general time frame that you would recommend students follow?
First, I'd say relax. I think that's a big one, and I think you'd hear that from all of us throughout this college search process, is that you've got to give yourself some grace and some time to make these decisions, because it's not a decision you want to make lightly or quickly, and it should take you some time to make a college decision. I would say, if we're talking specifically about your college search in November of your junior year, you're still in that information gathering stage. So maybe you've started to visit colleges, you absolutely can, but you really want to be talking as a student, you want to be talking to people who know you best, who can make some recommendations, and that can be obviously your parents. If your parents have trusted coworkers that have experiences with a variety of colleges, you just want to understand the landscape of your options. And those who know you best can make recommendations based on your personality, the types of things you're interested in, and the types of things those colleges offer. It's really important, if you have upperclassmen friends, ask them now what colleges they're applying to and why, especially if they're people you look up to, if they're role models for you, if you've got a senior mentor. Those are the types of people that you should be having these conversations with now. From there, the obvious next step is visiting the colleges that you deem are, at least at this stage, a good fit. And I would really recommend visiting a variety of colleges in terms of size and location, in-state, out-of-state, so you can get a sense of what's really going to fit you best. Your visit is really important in thinking about what questions you're going to ask too, and I can't tell you enough how important it is to talk to as many college constituents as you can, talk to other students while you're there, talk to professors, talk to staff and administrators, really pay attention to your surroundings. It's not enough just to take an hour-long campus tour, listen the whole time, don't ask any questions, and call it good. There's much more to investigate than that. After that point, during the summer, or spring-summer, during your junior year, as you saw in the timeline earlier, that's your time for testing and preparing your materials to then start the college application process at the end of the summer. So in August, typically, is when you can start those college applications.
Thank you. As Kristin was talking, I was thinking about a great opportunity our students are having right now. For parents that aren't aware, both 10th and 11th grade classes are going through EDP process right now, which is Educational Development Plan. They're using career cruising that you may have heard about. There's a ton of information on there. If you're not sure where to start or what college or what to study, they can do interest inventories to choose a career. They can research colleges around the nation. It's just a great tool. So you might want to ask your student. We finished up with the sophomores today, started with the juniors, and which we'll work through next week. But that is a big important thing for the counseling department. We really want to try to give the students as many tools and as much opportunity as they can to prepare and plan. And sometimes they don't take it as seriously, so maybe if the parents ask to see, I think it's really cool. I think it's fun. Okay. Patrick from Oakland. Counselors often hear from students that they are unsure if they want to go away to college, what they want to study, or if the family can even afford college. Many students in this position lean towards going to a community college. What are the benefits of going this route?
The community college can be a very good route for a wide variety of different students who either are unsure about finances, about what major they want to go into, about what four-year university they want to go to, and it can kind of extend their time to make that decision, maybe even develop a little bit more either on their own or academically. It gives the student the opportunity to take some courses at a cheaper cost. As we know, community college costs are going to be a lot lower than what the cost may be at the four-year university in terms of the cost per credit hour. If a student is strategic about what courses they're selecting at the community college, they can make a seamless transition from that 2-year to the 4-year that they're looking to go to in the future. So it still takes some forward thinking to make sure that they're on the right track by utilizing things like the Michigan Transfer Network, which is a website service that you can see how credits might transfer from community colleges to any four-year university in the state of Michigan. We're utilizing the specific four-year university that you know you want to go to in the future to see how those credits are going to transfer in regards to program guides or equivalency by course tools. These resources are here for students to utilize so that way they can make an informed decision about what school they want to go to in the future. So staying at the community college or starting there is definitely a good option, whether you are a student who maybe is struggling out of high school academically or still deciding on what school you want to go to in the future.
Thank you. Okay, so some questions I want to get your opinion as an audience. So the question is that we have a lot of students that express concern that their grades from 9th and 10th grade will keep them from being able to attend their top choice university. So by show of hands, how many of you feel that if you get bad grades, 9th or 10th grade, that your chance of going to your top choice university is done? If you believe that statement, raise your hand. Okay, if you don't believe that, raise your hand. Okay. So what's the real answer? Does anybody want to take this?
Okay, I'll be brave. I tell all students, if you want to graduate from Michigan State University, I can help you find that path to graduate from Michigan State University. Your path might not be the classic traditional path of leaving high school, entering as a freshman, spending 4 years, and then walking across the Breslin Center stage. It might look different. It might be going to the community college first, getting some courses under your wings, and then transferring to our university and graduating. When I look at a high school transcript, I start to narrow it down in use of fractions. So if we're saying that you had struggled your freshman and your sophomore year, that is one half of your high school curriculum. And if you did a little bit better your junior year, that's a quarter of your high school. And then if I'm looking at first semester of your senior year, that's an eighth of your high school. One half is always going to be bigger than a quarter or an eighth. And so it is the big picture for me, if we're looking at that traditional route to get you to Michigan State, that I want to see full performance throughout the entire time. But that being said, the question was, does it keep you out of your dream school? Absolutely not. It just might mean you're having a new path to get to that school of your choice.
And I think it's important too to realize that your curriculum in high school are stepping stones. You're starting with a 9th grade English, and you're going to 10th grade English, you're going to 11th grade English, just example. But if you're struggling in 9th grade, you're going to really, might be more likely to struggle on that next level. So making sure that you're starting off strong right from the get-go, you're developing good study habits, you're utilizing the resources in regards to teaching or teachers who may assist you or tutoring or whatever it may be. That's going to help you in the long run to take that path and make it a little bit stronger in the beginning.
The last thing I'd add, and that's when you actually get to the point of college, is remember the type of student you were when you were a freshman and a sophomore and why you were unsuccessful in the way you were. And if you know that about yourself going into college, you'll know the offices and people and professors you need to seek out to ask your questions, or the environment in which that's best done. Because you don't want to repeat the mistakes of your freshman and sophomore year in high school in your freshman and sophomore year of college.
Good thoughts. Thank you. Okay, the next question is for Ben. I'm a student who worked hard to maintain my average grades, my B's and C's. I have good study habits, and college is important to me. Where do you think I should apply my efforts in the college selection process?
So just rephrase the question. Like,
Okay, so
where should they be looking for college?
I've worked really hard. I'm a hardworking student, study to get B's and C's. So where do you think that I should apply to college? Where do you think I should
Okay.
start with the application?
I think I got this. So, I think you guys might have to help me on this one. My number one recommendation: you're going to go to college fairs. Hopefully, you're going to go to college fairs. You're going to go to college visits. We all have very similar marketing material that we've developed for you that says, here's the type of student that we're looking for. Every college and university that you go to will have at least some kind of brochure that says, this is a type of student. We call it our academic profile. This is the type of student that we're looking for. I really encourage students to be honest with themselves. You know what type of a student you are and where you fall in an academic profile. When you're doing those college visits or when you're picking up those brochures from all the different college fairs you go to, you should be able to put yourself in that university's academic profile. And so I would encourage you to go out and explore different universities to see where those academic profiles are, to really kind of figure out where you might be the best fit. I think that would be the starting point. I don't know if you all want to add to that.
I think that's a great starting point. The only other thing I would add is that if you're feeling a strong attachment to a particular institution and maybe you're right outside of their academic profile, that shouldn't prevent you from having a conversation. I still think it's worth, and I think we'd all agree, it's worth the conversation because, again, like Ben said before, if ultimately you want to graduate from Michigan State, but you don't fit their profile yet, you need to know how you fit their profile or how you come to the point of fitting their profile. Likewise, we want to have that conversation with you now so that should you choose to enroll at one of our institutions, we know how to best support you too.
And I want to mention, and maybe some people don't know this, that in colleges, there are probationary statuses. So if you are accepted on probation, they develop programs for you where you have set tutoring, a possible mentor, a study skills class. To me, even the best of students could benefit from something like that, going to college with all the different changes and transitions. So that's something else to look into, to research what colleges have programs like that. Okay, so here's another question for the crowd. So, is it better to get a B in an AP or IB class than an A in a standard course? So, is it better to get a B in an AP and IB course rather than getting an A in a standard course? So, who believes that getting B's in AP and IB is better? Okay. Hands down. And then who thinks it's better to get an A and just in the standard course? All right. I'm wondering how the college reps look at that on the transcript.
I'm going to say it's better to get an A in the AP course. It's a trick question. It's a trick question. But I would also say that each institution is going to look at AP and IB coursework in different ways. So make sure that you're working with each of those institutions that you are interested in to know if they are adding weight for those specific courses, if they're recalculating, or if your high school already adds weight for those specific courses. Is that institution that you're applying to going with that weighted GPA, or if they're recalculating it in that manner? I think you should be looking to, kind of going back to what Ben said, being honest with yourself and making sure that you're selecting courses that are challenging you by not challenging you to the point that is detrimental to your academic standing or standard. So do always challenge yourself all the way through until you're graduating from high school. But make sure that you are challenging yourself in a way that's going to benefit you in the future as well.
And a thought from the counselor is the standard course A, the higher your GPA is when we're looking at merit scholarships, that sort of thing, that gets you the money. So if you can get an A and look at merit scholarships that are offered at different schools, it's just based on the GPA. Okay, Mr. Patrick. Some students have complained that their parents are making them do volunteer work because it looks good on a resume, but they don't have time while balancing school and a part-time job and their participation in the school musical. What role do you feel a student's resume plays in an admission application?
So extracurricular activities, or even more specifically volunteer work, can help showcase that a student is a part of their global or just local society. It shows that they are willing to engage with others in a wide variety of different ways, and that can be very helpful in either the application process or even more so once they get to their college campus community. It shows that a student is willing and able and ready to be a student leader on the campus that they're going to next. So when I see an application and it has in the essay that they've done volunteer work, or that they've shared an experience because of that volunteer work that they've received, that looks great when I am looking for admissions purposes or outside scholarships, whatever it may be. So definitely consider doing volunteer work, consider doing extracurricular activities, not to the detriment of your academics, but to kind of bolster what you're doing in the classroom. And to keep in mind that that should continue once you get to the four-year university that you're looking to go to. You're all unique people. We saw from kind of the example here how unique different students can be, and we want to see that showcased onto your application, whether that's in the essays, whether that's in your resume, whether that's in your academics. Definitely brag about yourself. This is an opportunity, kind of like an interview, to really showcase what makes you stand out and why or how you're going to bring another level to our campus community.
Okay, thank you. Kristin, in our testing crazed world, the idea of taking a 4.5-hour test that could seal the fate of a young person's life provokes a lot of anxiety. Can you tell us about the standardized tests that are out there and how important they are to the admissions process?
Sure. Though the ACT and or the SAT might be your first 4.5-hour test, it won't be the first test you've taken. I think one thing you have to keep in mind about knowing yourself going into the ACT or the SAT is you will know based on tests you've already taken in a variety of your courses by the time you take the SAT in, is it March? Mm-hmm. Yeah, April, March. If you're the type that does get some anxiety when you take tests, you're going to have to learn strategies to keep yourself at bay. But also know that you're going to test the way you test. That doesn't mean there's no hope for you if you do have that anxiety, but it does mean you may need to prepare in a different way than the student sitting next to you on your right and the student sitting next to you on your left. I think it's also helpful to put this in perspective of your future and the different career options you have. There are going to be some career paths that are much more test heavy than others. Again, that's not to say that's not a career path for you, but it's something you're going to want to consider as you're going through the rest of your high school career and into your first years in college. If this is going to be a trend and you want to be a doctor and someday you're going to be sitting for the MCAT, that's a whole lot heavier than the ACT or the SAT. And you should be honest with yourself at this point. That's not to say to take a position in the healthcare field off of your possible career paths. But you do need to be aware and honest with yourself as you're going into these different career paths and how test heavy they are. Most colleges continue to use the ACT and the SAT as one element of the admissions process. It is not the sole thing a college is going to look at, but it is important. It's one way in the vast amounts of applications that colleges receive that they can compare students across the spectrum and how they compare to one another. Again, this is one thing that colleges look at. It's not going to be the only thing colleges look at. So hopefully that puts you a little bit at ease, but also prepares you to maybe over these next 2-3 months, take some practice tests. You've got Christmas break coming up, and as much as you don't want to spend your Christmas break testing the whole time, it might be worth it to take a couple of practice tests while you have some downtime and you're away from school and all those tests.
I will just add, and I will try not to make this a commercial for the SAT, but SAT has greatly revitalized the old testing method. I know when I was in school, we always talked about SAT words, and you had to learn SAT words to because they had these crazy words that no one uses, like credenza or something like that. And so they've completely changed it, and they are pretty clear and forthright with the type of information that they're going to be asking on the SAT. If you take the SAT or the PSAT, you can log into Khan Academy with your SAT identification, and they will give you free tutoring that is directed towards your results. So it will look at where you had lacking areas in the SAT and will give you strengthening areas for you within that area. So it is a great way to help improve your scores. I know we're sitting about 50% sophomores, about 50% juniors. So if you have taken the PSAT already, I would encourage you to go out there and look at that. If you haven't and you're a sophomore, you could take it and start trying to figure out the areas that you may need to grow a little bit in. So the benefit of being at a high school in Michigan is you will take the SAT come your junior year, so you know it's coming up. And so you should go out, look to see what kind of questions they're going to be asking. There are practice tests available, so take those practice tests as well. But there are ways that are free and easy to use to help you improve those SAT scores.
And there is practice even before you take PSAT or SAT on Khan Academy. They even have programs that you can pay extra to get more detailed tests and test questions. So it is a great resource. Okay, another one for the crowd. Have you heard that students should not report earlier test scores, that they should wait and only send their best test scores? How many of you have heard that only send the best? And the rest of you send all? Who would send all of them? Okay. What we advise, reps can confirm, is to send all of your scores. There's a place in application for you to state that I'm going to retake the test. And sometimes they will do what they call a super score, where they'll take the highest score from each test and give you a big fat score, good score. Other schools don't do that, but you want to send all your test scores. You want a test score to accompany your application, because that makes it complete. If you send your application, you don't have your test scores or your transcript, it's incomplete, so you're not considered early if that's what you're shooting for. Any advice from you guys? Agreed? Send all of them? Do any of you schools super score? No. Okay. All right. Then, counselors encourage students to submit their applications early action, which is November 1st. Does this mean that applications are reviewed by a first come, first served basis? And do you recommend applying early? And if so, when? So if I send my application on August 26th, and my friend Shannon sends hers on August 27th, does mine get looked at and accepted first?
Sure. I'll try to answer these in reverse order. Yes, apply early. I think we've covered that pretty extensively tonight. So September is kind of that window that we're going to be pushing for applications to come in. So I would encourage you to do that, whether it's early action, early notification, early decision. If the school doesn't have a program, still get the applications in by September. That would be my biggest push. You're just aligning yourself a lot more opportunities by getting your information in as soon as possible. I think after that, it will go down to the university and the college and how they build their class. At Michigan State, we have some students that will apply to our university, and we know they're a pretty easy fit at our institution, and they can move through the process pretty easily. There are some students that we need to spend a little bit more time with their file, learn a little bit more about them, and so they might take a little bit longer to go through the process. As a rolling admissions, we try to read the best that we can within date order, but again, there are some students that are just going to go through the process very quickly, and some that are going to take a little bit longer just because we need a little bit more information from those students.
Thank you. Kristin, a student says, so many of my friends know what they want to do with the rest of their lives, and I'm clueless. I have taken all the assessments at CHS and spoke to my counselor. What should I do?
I would venture to guess that you could turn to your parents or your grandparents or friends of your parents, and there's a good chance that not all of them knew exactly what they're doing today when they were in your shoes, and that's okay. A lot of students come into college undecided, and that's okay too. I think you do need to think about, at this stage, just like I was saying before about talking to people who know you well, ask them what they think you'd be good at. But I think, and what we preach at Hope is really not just finding things that you're good at, because you might have a lot of things you're good at, but also finding that thing that you're good at and brings you joy. Because that's what you want to do for your day job, right? You want to do something that's exciting and that you're excited to go to. A lot of that exploration can continue to happen, and assessments can continue to happen when you get into college. Most colleges have some sort of career development or career resource center or a mentoring program or professors in your classes who are built into your program who will act as your advisors and who will be getting to know you in your first year and making recommendations of classes that seem to make sense, that are going to fulfill requirements you have, but seem to make sense given what they've learned about you. Take their advice. See if that's the path that works for you. You're not going to be wasting time. You're going to be taking classes that are building a well-rounded base. You're going to be taking classes that make you a more informed citizen, and you're going to be taking classes that might inch you closer to deciding what you're going to major in. This, I'm sure, varies from one college to the next, but as a liberal arts college, students come into Hope, and all students are taking that variety of courses. And most students have declared a major by the end of sophomore year, yes. But a lot of those students have changed their mind in those first 2 years too. And they're not spending an extra year, they're still graduating in 4 years. But you need to give yourself some time to make that decision, because just like with your college search, making a decision about what you're going to major in or pursue for a career isn't a decision you want to make hastily. But also recognize statistics now show that a student will change careers 3 times, or a person will change careers 3 times in their lifetime. That's not changing jobs, that's changing careers. So think about the types of classes that will help prepare you for that flexibility too in college.
And I think too, some of your experiences will help determine what you're going into as a career as well. I love what I do. I'm, I guess, fairly good at what I do. That's for you guys to determine on your evaluations after the event. But I found admissions or higher education as a career path while I was a student on campus, and I did not major in higher education or admissions. I can probably tell you nobody wishes to be an admissions advisor or dreams to be an admissions advisor when they're a little kid. I certainly didn't. I thought I was going to the NHL. But
you missed it by that much.
Yeah, missed it by that much. So you will, as a student, find something that you really find joy in, that you are really good at, and it might not be tied directly to your major. I use the skills I learned from my major every single day, but I don't have a major in higher education or in admissions. I did earn a master's degree in something similar to that, but in regards to a bachelor's degree, that might be something very different. So just keep that in mind, with an open mind, that you might have an on-campus job or a student leadership position that translates into your career in the future that is not tied to your major.
Thank you. Okay, so I have one last question. I'd like to hear all perspectives from all three of you on this one, because we hear this a lot. We have students who, senior students who want to wait till first semester grades come in to improve their GPA to apply. They think it's going to boost that GPA and it's going to increase their chances. So my question for you is that true? Should they wait to see that they could get a higher GPA? And if they wait, are they considered like too late to the table, that they weren't on top of things, that they're not ambitious? So I'm wondering from each one of you how you would view that, what you would advise.
I think if a student waits, and again, we've kind of stressed, don't wait through the application process. You should be doing that in the fall. And again, I don't want to beat a dead horse, but we really do encourage that application process happening in the fall. Now, when it comes to the GPA or those transcripts, you want to make sure that you're academically strongest, and that makes sense. And it does show some perseverance, that you're looking to do well in your academics, and you're going to see it through to the end of your high school career. But again, a lot of universities may take a GPA initially and either provide admission or even delay your decision to see grades later on. It's really going to depend on each institution. At OU, we're really looking at that GPA for obviously first admissions purposes, but if you have a strong GPA and you're in the criteria for our automatic scholarships, we still want to see that GPA first, and we will always accept new transcripts at the end of the first semester of your senior year and reevaluate at that time. So that's our process. It might be very different at other institutions. So for us, we give you that little bit of leeway. But again, I would strongly encourage to finish the application process by sending in those transcripts in the fall in your first semester of your senior year.
I would say don't let us fill in the gaps. Be in that first group that applies regardless of where you're at. Apply early. I can speak for Hope. By December 15th, before the end of your first semester, we've received 85 to 90% of the applications we will for the year. You want to be in that first 85 to 90% of the applications we receive. So putting off your application because you're trying to improve your GPA might sound like a good idea. If you applying early, we might still defer you to see what those grades are. But you'll never know if you don't get in that first group. And you don't want to put all your eggs in one basket and apply to every college during your second semester and then not have any options. So my biggest recommendation is just don't let us fill in the gaps. Be in that first group of students that applies to colleges regardless of where you're at coming into your freshman year. Coming into your senior year.
And I completely agree with both of them. Let us do our jobs. That's what they pay us to do, is to evaluate your files. So don't take my job away from me. Let me do my job. Get all of your information in, like I said, in September. And if we decide that we need more information, let us communicate that with you. So then at least you know kind of where you stand with us. But getting everything in on time, I am sure a lot of you think Michigan State and Hope are extremely different places. They are, but we're at about 90% of our application pool already as well. So when we say early, that's when the majority of people are turning everything in. So if you're waiting until the end of January, beginning of February, you have really kind of missed everything. and really delayed yourself. So let us be the ones that make the decision if we need more information. So get all your applications in early in the fall.
And one final thing that just reminded me, if you are delaying your decision for admission, you also are then delaying your timeline in regards to things like signing up for orientation, signing up for housing, which can be really tough to do, signing up for activating your accounts, or signing up for scholarships or accepting scholarships. So make sure that, again, you're keeping in mind what else needs to be done after you're admitted, which is still a lot to do to get ready for enrollment in the upcoming fall semester.
Okay, we are going to take questions from the audience. I have Shannon over there with the microphone, and we'll run around. So if you just raise your hand, we'll be like Oprah. Anybody? Oh, there's one here.
So now that there's the SAT and the ACT, would you recommend that they take both and they provide scores for both, or do kids do better, some kids do better on the ACT versus the SAT?
Yeah. You're certainly welcome to take both. I would say kind of figure out which one maybe you feel strongest towards. And to kind of help with that, ACT is a subject-driven test. So it's divided up into 5 subject areas. You take each area individually, and each portion is timed. High school is a subject-driven environment. Students go to chemistry class. Once the bell rings, they put their book away, go to English class. So a lot of students have a tendency to do better on the ACT because of that subject-driven piece. SAT is a logic-driven test, so it's going to ask you questions of social science and math, but it's going to be kind of all grouped together, and it's only 2 big subject areas. Like I said, as Michigan students, you're honored to take the SAT by your state. So that is a great piece, I guess. I'll spin it that way. You get to take that. But I wouldn't be afraid to take the ACT also. And we have ways to figure out which score is going to be best for us. So when students do submit both of those, both the ACT and the SAT, I can kind of figure out which one's the highest score, and that's the one that I'm ultimately going to use. So it's going to be up to the student's preference. Again, the benefit of taking the SAT with that free tutoring is that if you take the SAT a second time, that tutoring should have helped you kind of better prepare for that second round of SAT.
I have a question. Would you rather take a 2-sport athlete or a 1-sport athlete at your college?
Hey, who just asked that question, just so we're not freaked out? Excellent. All right, cool.
For Oakland University's admissions purposes, we're going to look at that information kind of holistically, but we're really driven for our admissions processes by GPA, ACT, or SAT. It is helpful to know what the student is doing and that they're able to handle, or I guess I don't want to say juggle, but organize their time by being a 2-sport athlete. That's definitely a benefit to a strong student and somebody who might be able to handle that once they get to the 4-year university.
I think just consider who you are and what you enjoy too. If you're a 2-sport athlete because you enjoy being active, stick with it. If you're a 1-sport athlete because you also have a part-time job the rest of the year, stick with it. I think most of all, you want to personally, regardless of how it looks on a college application, be prepared to manage your time well when you get in college. And if your one sport is taking up the majority of your year, and you're still engaging with the spirit section at other sporting events, or whatever that might be, to round out your resume, if you will, great. But what I would say is I want you to come into our college happy and motivated, and if being a 2-sport athlete was super stressful and you're going to come into college super stressed out because of it, stick to one and supplement in other ways.
I wondered if a student's social footprint is ever a factor in their admissions process? Do you look at their Facebook or Instagram to determine if they've done bad things or things like that?
That made the news, didn't it, last year? We do not look at social footprint. However, if something is brought to our attention, I can't say that that has happened yet, but if something is brought to our attention, that's not going to be something we can ignore. I would say similar to how the couple cases last year were handled. Once something like that is brought to a college's attention, if that's going to put other students at risk in any way, there will absolutely be a conversation, if not a rescinding of admission.
Okay, one last for me. Do you guys look at whether it's a private school or a public school, or if it is a public school, how that school ranks as far as like their academics? Like Clarkston is a great school, but if someone went to some other city and their school wasn't as highly ranked, is that a factor in your admissions process?
For Oakland University, it is not. We, again, are looking at students and their opportunity to meet our minimum requirements and satisfy their high school graduation requirements, as well as challenging themselves. So some schools have access to AP or IB courses, or maybe even an early college or early middle college type program, and that's great for a student to showcase that. Each student should be able to really challenge themselves and set themselves up for success when we're looking at their application.
No, that's all right. I have had the privilege of working with Clarkston students for the last 6 years. So I'm very familiar with the offerings that the high school has, and that is how Michigan State is established. It has a admissions counselor for every single high school in the state of Michigan. So my area is kind of the surrounding area. It means that I can go to the committee and talk about students that have taken advanced coursework. It also allows me to understand the peer group that has either preceded the student or that the student is currently with as well. So I get an understanding of where they kind of fit in the Clarkston picture, and I can make cases for students if they have taken accelerated work through this program. But ultimately, we don't sit down and look at the ranking of Michigan high schools and say, well, these are in the top 10, so every student out of that school automatically gets in. And it really, like Patrick said, it falls onto the student. We're looking at individual students and their academic abilities and how they've challenged themselves in the particular school that they're a part of. So it's, while we get really familiar with schools, that doesn't necessarily have a lot of weight in our overall decision-making process.
On the subject of sports, what about non-mainstream competitive sports like martial arts or mountain biking, or non-competitive sports like backcountry, backpacking? Is that factor at all?
So I will say, when it comes to sports and volunteer work, robotic competitions, and this is an extremely selfish kind of point of view, I want you to be involved in my community. I want to be able to walk out of the Hannah Administration Building and see zombies versus students, and I want to see students hammocking along the Red Cedar River, and I want to know the Nature Club is going backpacking at Yosemite over spring break. I want Spartans to be doing that, and I know if you are involved in your community now, you will be involved in my community when you come to Michigan State. So when I'm looking at in our area, it's other activities that you're a part of. That's what it is on our application. I want to see some kind of involvement in that. If it's community service, if it's a part-time job, if it's backpacking or muck races or whatever it might be, I want to see you involved in something and passionate about it, because I want that to translate into your college career, because that makes us a better university, that makes your experience a better experience, and ultimately that leads to better alumni as well. So this is an extremely selfish point of view from me, but that's what I'm looking for when I see that. I want to see some kind of involvement, that you're doing more than just coming, sitting in class, turning in homework, and taking tests, that you're being involved in this community, because it's going to translate to involvement in my community.
Are there any more questions? Oh, there we go.
In the sorting game, it looked like
intended major of an applicant had influence in their admission. Can you speak to what kind of consideration you give to a major that's listed on the application in the admissions process?
That is some universities. That is not all universities. Michigan State, when I sit down to read an application, major is about the last thing that I look at on a student's application. I am more concerned about their admissibility and their academic performance up to that point. So our decisions are not factored by the major that the student is selecting. I know that is not true at every institution. There are some institutions that have, first-time enrollment, and they can only take so many people, and so that could be a factor at some other places.
Yeah, that is not a factor at Oakland University as well.
That's not a factor in our admissions process. What I do think is valuable about at least having some expressed academic interests or future plans is what the common application refers to it as, is that helps me, or in this case, Danae, once a student has been accepted to Hope, that helps us connect them with the right people at Hope to help them learn about what their opportunities are, students who are similar to them. We want you to learn and be able to visualize yourself at Hope in the things that you're interested in. So as much as that doesn't drive our admissions process, we want to know if there's areas that a student is excited about.
I know colleges and universities sometimes try to get students, out-of-state students, or even students from other countries. To what extent, looking in the ranking of considerations that colleges use when accepting potential students, to what extent or how important is it for a student to be coming from another state or another country?
So for Oakland University, we are recruiting out of state as well as out of the country too. We have international students who will come to our university and earn bachelor's degrees or even graduate degrees. But in regards to admissions purposes, we're not adding weight to a student who is an out-of-state student applying to OU. We are admitting students, whether they're from here or Ohio, to Oakland University if they meet our minimum requirements for admission. So there's no spot selected for just out-of-state students or international students.
I'd echo that, and I'd say too, in the case of international students specifically, typically they have a slight variation entirely of the admissions process. They're going through an international student application versus a U.S. first time in college application. So in our process, we're not looking at international students in context with U.S. students. They have a process that they go through, including their own scholarship and financial aid process, just like U.S. students have their own scholarship and financial aid process. So we're not comparing the two at the same time.
And we are the same.
Okay, we are out of time. Thank you so much for coming out tonight. This PowerPoint and the presentation will be on the website as soon as they edit it and get it together on the counseling website. Please drop off your feedback form if you were kind enough to fill it out. And students, see your counselor for any further questions. Thank you.